Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about what I see at least as a large societal train wreck that we're sort of lurching towards in the West. And this is the situation of retiring couples, white Anglo-Saxon primarily, but people that grew up and were born in a different era, and you were able to raise families and buy a house, that sort of thing, but where their spending power, their purchasing power, the value of their savings and their retirement plans has been so whittled away with artificially low interest rates, much higher costs of living, higher medical costs, and fewer and fewer medical procedures that are on health plans and medical benefits plans and so on. Governments trying to cut back on any government-sponsored medical care programs, these sorts of things. So the purchasing power, the money, the value of the savings and the assets that they thought they would have is now considerably less than was the case. Similarly, if they have a certain amount of money, they're not able to access certain government programs that they previously could, which would help sort of offset the diminished savings and retirement plan savings that they have. So there's been for most people, there's been a sharp reduction in the value of their retirement savings arrangement. At the time they were making those arrangements, a certain economic circumstance existed. Those circumstances no longer exist and haven't for quite some time. Therefore, the value of their retirement plan has gone down. Now, at the same time, the economy is, and the price of real estate being the main thing, has changed very, very considerably. It was possible, 50 or so years ago, it was possible for somebody working in a factory, a family on a single income, to go and buy a modest dwelling. That's simply impossible now. You need you need to be in the top 2% of income earners before you can afford from your own income to really buy a property, anything other than some shit box in the middle of nowhere. So the children of these people, of these now retirees, they can't afford to buy property. And so they're really waiting on their parents to die so they can get the house, so they can afford to buy property themselves. So the longer the parents live, the longer these people have to delay their capacity to purchase a property. In the event there's only one property in a sort of an ordinary middle area, then and you've got 3 children, then it probably won't be enough, and might be enough for the more enterprising ones. The amount of jobs, new jobs that are appearing there's simply not enough well-paid jobs relative to cost of living, at least for anything other than a very small number of people to be able to purchase a property. So the children are sort of, would you please die and leave us the house? And the parents are mindful of this. They want to leave something for the children, and to help them get ahead and that sort of thing. So that's understandable. Now, so there's a number of cost pressures and social pressures and so forth, sort of really all coming together. And on top of that, there's I believe there's a move all across the Western world now to introduce death taxes to prevent or avoid inheritance. So if the intention is to keep people poor, then that would be certainly one way of doing it. And there's a lot of white papers and discussion papers floating around. So I think it's inevitable that's going to occur. Whether it's tomorrow or the next day doesn't really matter. I think it's inevitable. And it's something that could be sold to young people. Say, look at all those fat cats there. Look at them. They got a house. That's not fair. Why don't we tax it so we can use that money to have more LGBTQ equity programs or something. Or we can use that money to fight climate change, and so that it'll be sold to the younger members of the public in that way. But there's yet another sort of factor, and this has come to pass where I've seen it. This is sort of a whole bunch of things have happened, or to a number of people at once. So I'll go through some of these because I think this is equally as disturbing, and the effects of it are going to be, I think, rather unpleasant. But this a couple who were they actually had provided quite well for their retirement, so they were looking pretty good. He has quite a bad stroke, and he kind of needs 24/7 or close to it, 24/7 care and various medical procedures, all of it were expensive. None of this was covered in his medical. He had a healthcare plan thing that he's paying money into, but these things weren't covered in it, and so this is all a cost, and it's huge cost. And the stroke was bad. He was in a rehab clinic, where it's $1,300 a day, and he was there for 4 months just in that. And the improvement was so minuscule that I've got a question: was that of any benefit at all, that place? But anyway, that's very politically correct too. This place, lots of equity there, and the head of the clinic is brown and speaks quite ordinary English and so on. So anyway, then he's got to be on some other plans. So they're looking at really $200,000 to $250,000 a year to look after this guy. So we know them, passably well, and she seemed quite distraught, and a few weeks into the thing, she seemed quite distraught. So we thought, oh, she's very concerned. Her husband has taken ill. Her husband in many years has taken ill. She's concerned for him. She's worried, and she wants the best for him, and so on. So we sort of went really to console her, I suppose, or just to lend an empathetic ear. But we were sort of stunned that when she came out with her. She said, I want him to die. I mean, it's just too expensive to look after him. I just want him to die. I want to get on with my life, and so the quicker he dies, the fucking better. And why should that money we've set aside is to go on cruises and to go on holidays and vacations and to this and that and to buy lots of consumer goods. It wasn't all supposed to be frittered away on healthcare, on someone who's so fucked up but he's never going to recover anyway. Blah 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 blah. So we were quite shocked. She didn't give a shit about him. I mean, not a shit, and intimated that if she could avoid paying this money for him, she would. If she could pass it on to the government or abandon him. She even considered abandoning the guy and just, well, someone else will look after him, not my problem. And we were. We sat there in stunned silence, or I did at least. No, we both did. We sat there in stunned silence listening to this, but it was said with what I would interpret as malice. That I wish that motherfucker would die. Now, she's got a medical opinion that, well, he's obviously, he's had a bad stroke. His health isn't good, obviously. Like he's close to a paraplegic, a quadriplegic even. She, the medical opinion she's got that he's not going to die anytime soon. It's going to be at least 12 months before he dies. And now he was in quite good condition at about 60, 63 or something like that. And but he's coming around. So she's looking at another $250,000. She says by the time he dies, it could be between $500,000 and $600,000 down the toilet, just making him comfortable when he's going to die anyway. And why should my standard of living suffer because of him? And again, I I sat in stunned silence listening to this quite malevolent take on things. Now, almost around the same time, again, a stroke, as it turns out. This guy wasn't fit, and he was, seriously overweight. He used to drink way too much, and but he had a stroke, and he sort of had partial recovery. I mean, he sort of, his leg drags as he walks around. You can tell he's got real trouble getting from A to B, and he can't drive, and he can't do this, can't do that. So, but anyway, she's, I don't know them well, but they seem to be quite affectionate with one another, and so on. And I sometimes bump into her at like at the grocery store and just down in the village and that sort of thing. And so it was a hot day recently. So, wow, it's not a hot day. And and I'd said that her husband. He was looking bright and cheerful a couple of days ago, and so on, because he sort of waved to me, and he needs with it. It's very expensive. He could die any day, and he's and I don't know what if he doesn't die, and I have to pay for everything, and that comes out of our retirement money, and I just want him. He's not going to recover, and I just want him to die, and so it's all done and over with, and so I know I can get on with my life, and he's just getting in the way at the moment. I have to watch out for him. It really cuts into what. So this is just two examples of women in both cases. I wish the motherfucker would just fucking die. I don't want to spend money on that motherfucker. And so now this is a guy where he's worked all his life, and he's saved, and he's been quite prudent with money. So she's quite happy to take his money and spend it. But when it comes that he needs the money for medical care, then she just wants him to die. Now there was another scenario quite similar, and again it was a stroke thing where she's because he was affected mentally. She's kind of got attorney and all this sort of stuff, but she wants to. She was again very cutting, like he was always a lousy fuck. But now I'm going to fuck everybody from the gardener to the floor sweeper. I can go fuck every guy I can lay my hands on, and because of his physical condition, where he can kind of get around, but only just because of his physical condition. I'll take care of him because I have to, and I've made inquiries, and they say that if I try and abandon him, they'll just take the money from the government, will take the money from me anyway to look after him. So there's no way I can get out of it. So here's yet another example. So I see that because of the diminished resources and the reduced size of the retirement thing, that quite a few people are going to be, if they're caught in a situation where they've gone from what they perceive as no problem, they're going to retire in great comfort, lots of exotic cruises around the Caribbean and everything. If they perceive their future is going to be that way, and suddenly that future, as they fantasize it, has been taken away by medical health issues, they're going to want to get rid of that person that's consuming those financial and medical financial resources. And so when they introduce effectively is already here in a lot of ways, introduce euthanasia, and someone's got an attorney, they're going to be signing up. Just take the guy out the back and fucking kill him. Will you just give him the injection, give him the needle, get rid of the fucker? It's costing too much to have him alive. But that's going to be decision. So this idea, I think many people have. They have a loving partner who's going to, be very self-sacrificial and look after them and tend to them and be loving and giving and kind, and that's I think it's going to be for many a rude shock that the other one's just going to want to get rid of them as quickly as possible. And I think the euthanasia path will become a bigger issue in the overall scheme of things. And if you look at, say, the kids and the mother get together and say, why don't we just kill dad off? I mean, if his medical expenses continue like this, there'll be nothing left for us. You're going to retire in the poorhouse, Mum, and we won't have enough money to buy a house, and let's just kill the motherfucker. And this sort of thing, I think, is going to be very much how it is. And I see that as a societal train wreck that maybe will be the final rupturing straw that breaks the back of Western civilization. I'll go back to this is when I was a kid. There was a guy who was, I think he was like a tool maker or something like that, and he he worked all his life. They bought a sort of nice middle class house, and I remember he worked past retirement age. I'm like 10 years old. So he worked past retirement age and retired at 67. And he worked quite a lot. He was often doing overtime weekends. So his wife had effectively created a lifestyle for herself where he was always at work, and she was the dependent wife and everything. And so then he retires, and he was talking to somebody out in the street, or like in the front garden, and he was saying, and I can paraphrase it, and I remembered this, where he was saying, I thought when I retired that me and whatever his wife's name, we'd have time to spend together, and but she just doesn't want me around, and she just tells me I'm getting in the way, and my friends at work that I used to see, they kind of, we've drifted apart. They don't really want to see me anymore, and it's since we sold the car, it's too hard to get to the cafe or the pub, whatever it is, where his work comrades are. So effectively, he lost his network of friends. Particularly his age, his friends are dying off in the neighbourhood anyway, and but he. It was about a year after he retired, he died, and it was the way it was spoken about, sort of with sort of almost guilty whispers that maybe he took matters into his own hands to accelerate the process. But the thing was that he said, no, no one wants to talk to me. No one wants, my wife's not interested in me. No, I've got nothing to live for, and I think that's another part of the train wreck, societal train wreck we're heading for. That white people in particular have less reason. The reasons for living and their purpose for living and so on are being taken away, and I think that'll contribute again to this societal train wreck. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.